All right. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to
Hello.
Wikipedia Weekly Network, here where I, Jan Ainali, and Albin Larsson are editing Wikidata Live. How are you doing, Albin?
I'm doing great. How are you, Jan?
I'm great as well. It's been a while.
It has been a while indeed. And I noticed that you have a different background.
Yes, I just recently moved, which is some of the parts of why we have been off air so long. And I see you also have a new background.
I have also moved. And I think that's an even bigger reason we have been away for so long.
Yes, and of course we usually have summer holidays and such as well. But we're already mid-October before we get started. But now I think maybe not every week, but a little bit more often we'll
Yeah.
come along and do these uh, Saturday night streams. So what do you have in store for today?
I told you yesterday that I was thinking about maps as well. I have changed my mind, Jan.
All right.
I'm gonna work on Gov directory
Oh,
and I
good.
want to work on topics. So we got
Ah,
this CFOG
uh-huh.
classification we're currently using on the website,
Mm-hmm.
but we are investigating if we can replace that, which is like a authority by the UN, with something more community created. And I want to experiment with making queries for that.
Mm-hmm.
You have done some work on that in the past, which I'm gonna build upon,
Mm-hmm.
and you see if we can create even more ones.
Yeah, and we did something on that on the stream in last spring, right? Or
Yes.
like earlier this year. So if someone want to go back, there should be. I've also been updating and fixing all the streams so they have nice titles or chapters.
Oh,
Again, so
nice.
all the streams are updated. So if you want to go back and look, it should be easy to jump between. And they usually have something. Oh, here's something with a Sparkle query. Here's something with something.
Yeah.
Property or something like that.
I tend to go back quite often myself because I know I have been working on this. Maybe I did it during stream. Oh
Mm-hmm.
yes, I did. Amazing! I can just look at what we did.
Yes,
It happens. It happens all the time.
yes, super handy.
And
So
you, Jan, what are
yes,
your plans?
I'm going to work a little bit on a map, but also a little bit with specifically on layers on a map, uh, because. And I'll get started here and share my screen immediately. I think might be good. Now I need to maximize view here because some of my buttons disappeared in the layout I had. Mm, maybe this is a better one. Yes. So I saw this blog post, and this is a blog post from the historical museums in Sweden, and it was showing a little bit of things they have been doing with Wikidata and how they have been using OpenRefine to get some things in. And it's a nice blog post, but in Swedish, so it might be hard for you to read. But what caught my eye was in the end of this one, where they have, I'm going to zoom in a little bit, and I'm zooming in the wrong window. That won't help you anything. There we go. I also want to zoom out in the other one so I can see properly. A different Sparkle queries, and of course, we do a lot of Sparkle queries, so that really caught my eye. And one of the nice things there, and you also see a preview on this little map here, is where they were trying, what they did was they were adding people from two different databases. And these databases have different identifiers in Wikidata. So they had one map where they showed uh, people in one or the other, and then they had one where they showed if they both were in them. And I was thinking, wait a minute, wouldn't it be nice to have all of these in the same as different layers? And that's sort of like where I started. And that's what I'm going to try to recreate today then. So um, do I have my Sparkle service here? Maybe do I need to zoom in just once more, perhaps, for you to. So what I'm going to do now here is I'm going to start doing a query. And first, we just want some sort of like, we'll call it item very simply, where item, I'm actually going to close this here so I can just run it. It's in one of these databases, or rather like where they have one of the IDs. And one of the IDs is National Historical Museums. So we start writing, and I think and press Control Space to give you this list. And then you can keep typing to see. And I think we're going to have a lot of national things. But National Historical Museums, there's not too many. And this is the first one. So P9495. And also, hello, Nicholas. It's nice to see you. And we're going to call this, let's call it national hist ID. That'll keep us. If I just run this one now, I think we're going to get quite amount. Yes, 31,000. So that's quite a bunch. But then, of course, to create a map, we need some sort of coordinate. And the way we can do it is to look if they have a place where they're born. And I think that's, I'll just start writing here, birth. Not birthplace, but place of birth. So this one we're going to go, and we'll call this born, perhaps. But that won't give us the coordinate. That will just give us the place. So we need to do one more thing here. We need to ask, well, what are the coordinates of this place? Coordinate location, which is P625, and we save this as chord. Now, I think if we put chord here and just run this, first of all, I think we're going to get a lot fewer, because there's obviously not everyone has a recorded birthplace, and not every birthplace, but almost everyone do have a coordinate. So here we get a huge bunch, 7,000 results. And if we go to the results view here, just on top of the answers, we can now select map, which is beauty when the query service recognizes, hey, you have some coordinates in here. And it takes a time to render 7,000 things on the map. And we see mostly Western Europe. Of course, this is a Swedish database, so I would expect most of the things in Sweden, and then a few things scattered around the rest of the world. So not very surprising. And then, of course, that was the first half of it. So the way we can do this now is actually to get separately the other one, is that we can enclose this and make a union, and then just start. We'll make this a little bit nicer there. Doesn't really matter, but nice and tidy is always nice. And this one is the National Museum idea. So we'll start national. I think it's written with, yes, this one. And we call this national muse ID, perhaps. And enclose that. So this first line will be unioned with this line, and then these both two next one will apply to like this set. And now if I run this, we should probably get a lot more results just because we're selecting more. So let's see how that will work for us. So almost 10,000 more. This is going to take a little bit of a while to render, but the query was quick, just 3,000, because it's not a very complicated query. And now it will take even longer time, I think, to put this on the map. But it should just work. If my browser will, there we go. But of course, we just got more things on the map. We have no way to discern one from the other. And the way we can do this built into Wikidata query service is through sort of like a magic variable called layer. So you can assign something to layer, and then it will show up nicely here in the top right corner with different colors for the layers. And you can turn them on and off and see them. And then, of course, we need to select something called layer so that the query service knows. So when this is up here, that will be a cue to the query service I want to make difference of the different values of these things with layers and give them different colors. And it will auto assign colors unless you tell them to do something special. But then, of course, you have to create a like a parameter named layer. And if you want it to not be designed on, like, you could do it like layers per country, perhaps, but that wouldn't help us as much as this. So here we want to have layers if it either had one of the ID or the other ones. So the way I want to do this is to do that with some sort of if clause. Like, if it has this one, then I want to assign one layer, and if it has the other one, I want to assign one layer. And then we will bind that to a new variable. So, and you could do this like bind it, and then you bind something as layer and close. So that's sort of like the base. And then in this little space here, we need to put our if clause to see what are we going to bind as layer. So we can say, well, if and then we need to do it like this. So enclose, and we'll have the if clause there. And first we have the if what, and then we're going to be then what, and then else. That's how the if statement works in here. And I want to check, like, if we have this nice thing called bound, which gives, like, if a variable is bound, and bound means does it have a value or not. So if bound, then assign something, and else assign something else. So now we can just check, well, if this is bound, and we can call that layer national historic. What was the name of it? National Historical Museums ID. And if it not was bound, then the only possible reason it can show up in this query is, of course, if the other one was bound. So if that one wasn't bound, we're going to call it national. What was the name of it? National Museum ID. Very similar names for the ideas. But I think this should just be it. So if the first one was bound, well, assign this to the layer, and else the other one. And now we see here we need to close a parenthesis, I think. Was that enough? think the as layer shows in the wrong color now. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, this should be good.
You have a single quote in the beginning, and not the double one.
Yes, of course. So there we go. Now we got the nice colorings.
Yeah.
So that's where the syntax colors really helps. You see, there's something wrong in it really, even before you run it. So that could be a good thing to have an eye for. All right, let's run this.
Something that would be really nice is if it would validate the query at all at the beginning. So you would
Yeah.
never need to actually run it before you know it's valid.
Yeah. Usually, if you have an error, it ends quite quickly though. But sometimes it
Yeah.
can take some while. And here we see now that we have selected items. They have a coordinate, and this one has a layer. And let's see if I sort this on the other, if there's any on the other layers. Yes, we do. Which means if I swap here to the map, we should automatically have 2 new layers, or 2 layers, because we had none before. And you see that, first of all, that you have 2 autocolors in here, and also this little symbol here, like this is the layer symbol. And if I hover over it, we can see, I want to show all layers, or I want to show, well, just one of the layers. Now it's really slow on my side, but I think it seems to be working, yes. Well, yes, just slow with 16,000 items. So that was the first. This is really just recreating the base. And now we want to do the special case if they are also in both databases. And I figured, like, well, we couldn't just do another union and select, and I'll copy the first one here. Don't mean I already had like this. And then actually check within the same enclosing here that it also has the other. So this part will check that it has both of them and return them. So then we can go back. So that's nice, but that won't give them a new layer name. So I want a new layer name sort of called both. So I have to go back to this binding thing and make it a little bit more complex. So first I want to check, well, if it has one of them, check also if it has the other one, and then assign the both thing. And then if it didn't, do the first one, and else do the second one. So sort of first check, all right, was this bound? Then do another if clause and check, was the other one bound? Oh, we need a, and that one was this one. And then you want to do both. And if not, we want to do, and it was only the one of them, then we want to do this second one, or the first one. And then we're going to need to move there for the syntax there. So going this slowly again, we check if the first one is bound, then if the other one also is bound, do both. And if they both weren't, then it already passed this check, the first check. So add the National Historical Museum's idea. And if not, it was only the second one. So go this one. So now I think we have the layers right. So let's try to run this query just to verify that it didn't totally fail. And it runs it quickly, but it renders it slowly. Here we go. And now
The query somehow got faster.
yes, I don't know how. And here we can see we have a couple of boths. So now we should have 3 layers if we go in through the map. And hopefully that will not crash. No, here we come. And if I scroll down, we can now see we have this National Museum ID, we have the both, and we have the National Historical Museums idea. But it's not optimal in the way that I see we have the green one on top and the both one is in the middle. I would like to have the both one in top so I could see everyone that is both all the time, which would make it easier to see. Because right now, in my view, I don't see a single orange dot, which I don't know. So that's very unusual. So we now want to sort of like give this some sort of like, how can we change the ordering? And you helped me out here, Albin, before, like, well, you could try to order by the layer and see if that has some effect. And I think that now we have that this should put B in one of the ends. So then we will see like, oh, well, which way do we do we need to order it? So we'll just start by ordering it by layer. And just run it again. Hopefully it's still very quick because the query should, well, 2 seconds longer. So sorting took two seconds, perhaps. Now let's see if we can, there we got it, and then switch to the map view. And let's check. Now we have the wrong order, so to speak. Now we have the both in the bottom and green and orange on top. So if I, no, wait. If I turn the both on again. Yes, so this was the bug you found. So it should go like this, go from the top to the bottom, but for some reason it doesn't really. But if I turn this on and off again, the classic IT thing, have you tried to turn it on and off again? It actually shows up on top. And now when I do, does it click? There we go. Now we see like, oh, the blue dots are, no, I clicked it once too many. One more, there. Is it just very slow? Yes, there we go. So now this map is actually quite useful because now you can see, oh, the blue ones are where they coincide, and the green ones where they're just in one, and the orange one is just where the another one. And it's get even more useful when you start zooming in, and if it gets updated here, you can go down to specific city or something like that. And if you wanted to see one of these, just one of these, then you can select just one. So that was basically my idea for this thing, and I think I will stop on there because that was, I'm going to try to share this query in the chat so that you can follow along. So I'm going to do one more short thing. So what you can do here is, of course, we have these, if you start writing something with a hashtag, you have the default views. And in this case, like the map is what you would like. So we'll add the default view map. And then I also would like to give this a title, and not with capital T title. And I'll say people birthplaces. National Historical and National Historical Museum and National Museum. Sweden. This will give us, now if I run it again, you'll go directly into the map, and I'll also give it a nice little header in light blue, or with a light blue border on top. Let's see if it actually works. Yes, so now it had to render the map, so it took a little bit longer. I spelled birthplaces wrong. I don't want to share that. I can. I'll actually share the link to the query here. So click there, copy. This should go out in all the places. Yes, there we go.
Nice.
All right. So that's me for today.
I'm just quickly gonna show that on the screen as well, in case you're watching this later on YouTube.
Yes.
But yeah, lovely query. And Jan mentioned I had been involved a little bit, and I spent an hour or two trying to fix that bug as well, but never really succeeded. Started thinking, yeah, this is a 2-line change. It's gonna take 5 minutes. No, took me half an afternoon just realizing, nah, I'm not doing this today.
Is there a
That's it.
fabricator ticket for it?
No, I don't think there is a ticket for
All
it.
right. So maybe I'll go back and do that as a action point from this.
Yeah.
And then we can also refer to this video. That's nice. Have it recorded.
Indeed. So I want to work on this. On GovDirector, we got this. There's 10 categories, which are all from a categorizing system from the UN. For example, we can move into defense here, and we can see that we see a bunch of Swedish government agencies, essentially, because for Sweden, we actually found some public data in this regard. We can, for example, see the Swedish Armed Forces. Of course, they go in under defense, as well as the Coast Guard or Defense Research Agency, and things like that. But this is a problem. We here got only one country represented, and we have more countries in GovDirector. We have 27 to be exact right now. But it's really hard to find that UN data. And at the same time, wouldn't it be super nice if we could have the Wikidata community actually curate this type of information? Maybe we could even have like smaller parts than defense. Maybe you go into defense, and under defense you find like several new sections. So this has been a documented issue here, and John started doing a bunch of work, and I did a couple of experiments. And if I pick up one of Jan's queries, let's see, figure out what it's doing. So this is for climate. So we see that it got a bunch of areas or topics, essentially. I can see that this is global warming, climate change, natural environment, environmental protection, sustainability. And then we are looking for various topics. We actually just having these ones as some initial ones. Then we're trying to find subsets, I imagine, here by using facet of, part of, subclass of, and instance of. And let's see, here we do union with a set of values. That's the same values as the area, it looks like. Okay, so we're essentially merging these two because this one is only used for this part. So this is duplicated, but that's fine here. So let's see what we actually get if we render this. We get a ton of topics. And even like really small ones, like type of climate in Nigeria, Wikidata property related to climate, World Cleanup Day, and so on. Climate of Paris. And I'm not sure if we like need to support all of this, but one thing we need to do is that given topics like these ones, we actually want the government agencies that are in Gov directory and what the ones which can be applied here. So given that we have two inputs into query like this, we have the various government agencies that are in Gov directory, and for those we want to check if they are in one of these categories based on topics like these ones. And I could even imagine that for Gov directory, this would actually be two different queries. There would be like one like this one we have here, which is essentially discovering the various topics, and one that is just doing this connection in between. And I think we're gonna need to do a little bit of prototyping on the later one. So let's open another window here and start with our select. I always do my select star when I'm prototyping queries. And as I said, we have two inputs. We have the topics and we have what's already in Gov directory. So based on this, we could imagine that we actually just have this as values or essentially variables. So let's do a list here. And let's call this org for what we got. And then let's take a couple of examples. We could do defense here. I'm gonna pick out a couple of ones, just copy the QIDs. BD, oops, BD, and then and this could also be really nice because, for example, the university here we had, I imagine that's only in one of the UN categories, defense. Let's see. Did I close it down? No. So this is only in defense, but I could imagine for end user, it would make sense if it was in education as well.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also a use case we might take into account here. Oops, that was the same. Of course. Let's see, 11 and 17. That one we got, that one we're missing. So let's assume that this is a long list of all the various, maybe for a specific country, maybe all Swedish government agencies would go in here. And then we would have a set of topics that are essentially representing defense. So let's see, we could call that area. And imagining this would be huge list. Like in Sweden, we got over 600 government agencies, and but for Gov directory, we could essentially make this query be auto-generated, so to speak. So it's not a limitation we have. You would never write this for hand. And then let's see, we need some, let's open this on Wikidata to see if we have a topic here already or a field of work, maybe even better.
Yeah, I think field of work is what we would like to.
Yeah. We do not have it here, but we can easily add that. So let's where did I have my card? Can I wish I could easily from here go into the item. This would be like a link.
Ooh,
Speaking of
that's a nice
issues
thing
we
to
need
do,
to
right?
create,
Yeah.
I think it's a little bit easier said than done, but it's definitely doable. Okay, I'm just gonna open them manually like that. Um, so let's start with something. Defense material. Could that be an
That's
item? I
what they
wonder.
do. Yes.
Let's see. First of all, do they have either subject of? No, topic. What's
Field of work, I think.
yeah? That's one of them, but there
Mm-hmm.
is a couple of similar ones.
Yeah.
Main subject.
Main subject should be used on creative works rather
Yeah,
than
indeed. But often it is in use here, and in case it if it was,
yeah.
I wanted to move it. But we
Yes.
had we had either of them. So let's
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
field of work, industry. That's also an interesting one. Field of action, field of work.
I think field of work is
Ah,
specialization of an organization.
indeed. And this is defense, defense material.
Mm, that's
No. Let's see what we have under defense then.
military equipment, perhaps.
Mm,
Yes,
yeah,
that's a good one.
nice one.
And I think also you can do on this one procurement, because that's what they do.
Oh,
They buy stuff for the defense forces with an O,
yeah.
OC. Yes, there you have the third one. Yeah, that's a good one.
That's a really good one because that's often something you actually want to ask government agencies about.
Yeah.
Um, so that I could even imagine instead of just being climate, one could also have something like that.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so here we got a military academy and a university. So let's see. Do first of all API endpoint. That's odd. Um, legal force, student
There. Oh,
count,
I see some field of work.
field of work, military education and training, school education.
All right.
And we even got a reference here. Oh,
Okay.
interesting.
What is school education? Because I could also think that since this is a university, it could be like higher education or something like that.
Um,
But this
instruction
might,
carried out in school.
yeah.
It's
This
hard to
could,
tell. It's only Japanese Wikipedia and some Google Graph ID.
but the database was a Czech database, right?
Yeah,
All right. Well, I guess it could stay, but it might also have higher education or something like that, or tertiary
yeah,
education.
yeah. This is interesting. I imagine it has been reconciled or something like that
Mm-hmm.
from an actual
Yeah.
topic here.
Yeah.
I'm gonna leave it
Yeah. Yeah.
for this particular case. So we got one example here. We got one example here, and those are the same, right? Yes. Okay. We got two examples. Let's start with that and see if we get any
Mm-hmm.
additional ones just by.
Mm-hmm.
So I want the QIDs for the ones that are relevant for defense.
Mm-hmm.
So let's see here. Did I? Is this a reload needed? I wonder.
Too many tabs.
Too many tabs, indeed. There. Okay, so let's move them over. Both of them. I have my copy QID button, and let's go here. And there we are.
Yeah.
So there we go. And theoretically now everything we want to check if any of these ones got the field of work that are any of these ones.
Mm-hmm.
And that sounds like it should be fairly simple.
Mm-hmm.
And again, this is a super small like example. This would be 600 for Sweden, and I imagine this could be at least a couple of dozens.
Yes.
Um, but that is nothing we need to worry about right now. So let's, I think it's as simple as doing org and then VDT field of work. And then, and when I say it as simple as this, at least that's a start. So we know that we should at least get two of these ones. We
Mm-hmm.
should get the university and we should get the defense material administration. And we do. Let's see that they are right. Oh, I don't get the tooltip here. Ah, here I get the tooltip. Here I do not. That could also be potential
Mm-hmm.
improvement. Okay, so that works. Um, and I imagine it works very well because we just have these small examples. Because, for example, something we would need to do here is to have distinct. Because it could very well be so that one of these government agencies actually have two field of works within the same category. There could be, for example, a government agencies which do both military training and defense material in theory,
Yeah. Yeah.
um, and probably even smaller facets.
Yeah. I see.
And
Jane has also a very nice comment here regarding the other imported one that
yeah,
we were looking. Like if they're imported from external databases, they might be poor matches. Like the reconciliation might be very hastily done
yeah,
sometimes. So yeah, that's a very good point.
yeah. I imagine that what's happened, given that it had such a common name, school education, and then had a knowledge ID, Google Knowledge Graph ID, and Japanese Wikipedia article. So what I want to do in case we would have something here with the field of work of two areas is to make sure that this is distinct. And we do not want to select star. We actually do not need the area itself. Everything we need is actually the government agencies itself. So we would need to say org here. And this ensures that one single government agency will only be displayed once, no matter how many field of works it has within a specific area. So I think this in theory should work for Gov Directory. And then it's a matter of do one want to automate this to the extent like we had over here? Do you want essentially to take this entire query here and insert it here and just replace it, or do you want to use a query like this to discover various topics that you could put into a query like this manually? And I think here it also depends on like what is possible from a performance perspective. Like if we do a massive query, or even if we just have a really long list here, will the query always time out? So there are a lot of aspects here, but one can always dream and play around with this. And given this, I think we got uh, a rather good idea of what we could do. Um, and I wonder if we have an easy way to copy paste a bunch of more QIDs here to to actually expand a little bit on this. So
If you run the Swedish query,
that's way easier than what I was about to do. I was about to go to the sitemap, copy the XML there, and let's not get into that. So let's see Sweden here. Here's the query that actually powers Code Directory. Now we get to see if it returns the expected result as well.
I think we might be off by 10.
10? I know that we would at least be off
No,
by one.
no.
Oh, that's even worse.
Oh, we need to
Okay,
go check this. Yeah.
let's pretend that's perfect for now
Yeah.
for this particular particular case. And I want to select just my edit my selected. I just want the QIDs for easy copy paste. So I'm gonna do like this, and let's see. Let's ensure that I
You don't want
actually
the
want
org instead?
org instead. No, no, no.
Would-
I'm gonna
All right.
sheet
You
here,
do like this. All right.
just to make it as copy
Yeah.
pastable as
Yeah.
possible.
Yeah.
And let's pick 200 items here. That sounds like a good experiment.
Mm-hmm.
And let's potentially we could get some duplicates now, but it's gonna be fine.
Yeah.
So a long list you would never write yourself, hopefully. It still is really, really quick. So that makes me really happy. We still only got two results on military equipment and military education and training. It might be that those are only present in two as well. Um, but if we look at that result list, maybe we can find some. So if
If you
I
take the topics query I made that was really long and paste in, or maybe just the one I had in values.
ah yes, only the ones you got in values is a really good idea. Did I close that?
I might have, yes.
Um,
If you have it there, alternative. Yeah, there you have it.
there we go. And we got that one. And then we just pick this one
Mm-hmm.
and head over to this query. And we essentially go from defense here to climate and environmental things. I got the
Ah,
first 200, so that might also be it.
yeah,
There is an easy trick here. If I just remove all of that, head over to the query. Let's destroy this query once again with my little bit of a trick here. And then we run this, we get a lot of results. I imagine we should be able to show more than 200 results.
yes.
Yes.
Show them all.
Here are all of them. This is a great case. And I'm not sure to what extent. I know I haven't worked with Swedish government agencies and field of work at all. At least not beyond like if I run into something obvious. So that might also have a role in this. But let's just paste this in here and give it a go. 2 results. So let's see what we got here. Swedish Environmental Protection Agency.
Good one.
Great. And Ministry of Climate and Enterprise. Also a good one.
Yes.
Um,
We're missing a few ones as well, though.
Yeah, we are. And I imagine that it could also be like this section that needed updated because some, for example, only work with water protection and things like that. But yeah, I'm really happy with it. It's like here we already got examples: biodiversity, another one that we should probably add in such an example. Here I see error as well. The Swedish Environmental Protection Agency isn't under the Minister of the Environment because that one doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
Um,
Under that one.
Yeah, exactly. But here we can also see one of those cases where you would probably find a government agency in multiple categories. Like
Yes.
we got this massive one. I don't
Yes.
think sport is under here anymore, but at one point it was under enterprise as well.
Yeah.
And sports tend to move around in Sweden.
Yes.
It might even be under the justice department right now.
No, I think it's under culture now.
Oh yes, it's under culture now. And prior to that, it was under justice. And I
Possibly,
think it
yes.
was only under justice because the minister in that case really liked sports.
That was the case.
um, okay, I just want to fix this before I'm done for the day because we know that it's under this one,
Yeah.
this new one. It changed. Was it this year?
Yeah. And
Yeah,
as Jane points out here, it's hard to keep ministers up to date because every few years they change, and sometimes the change are really big, and sometimes they're small and subtle, and you don't really know how is this an entirely new one. Sometimes it's really clear. I know there's a lot of people also working with politicians trying to keep like the ministry titles, having a hard time knowing like what's in the portfolio or not.
yeah, exactly. Um, I'm not sure how useful it would be for me to share this particular query, but I think I wanted to kind of point out like when machines are using SparkQL, we can actually do things like this. Like, what if we put 600 government agencies just into
Mm-hmm.
a plain list into SparkQL? It's realistic, and we actually do it quite often,
Mm-hmm.
and it's incredibly useful.
Yes, and in
And
this case, it was really really quick. So
yes,
we
indeed.
we because the query itself doesn't this query wasn't that complex, so it's like a rather straightforward matching for the query service.
Indeed. And I imagine this probably wouldn't just scale linear because as long when we add a new topic here, it would need to compare that against every single. So the more topic areas you get here, the slower it's gonna be by a lot.
You think it's
Um,
exponential almost?
yes,
All right.
almost at least. But that's also like one of the reasons this is an interesting experiment
Mm-hmm.
for how we're gonna solve this issue for Go Directory. And it
Yeah.
would also be super interesting about what people think. Do they think that creation here by the community of this field of work information is important, and what role does it actually play?
Mm-hmm.
So that was it for me today, and I'm really happy. I think that we're onto something here. Um,
Now I just want to think out loud with you here. So now we
yeah,
had 6 different uh, topics, and we're getting and all the ones from one country in less than a second. So if we were going up to like let's say like if we had 10 like we have originally, that should probably also be quite fast.
yes,
But if we times the 10 by 6, because this is basically one of the facets, so like we go up to 60, then
yeah,
are, are we still within the minute?
exactly. That's the question.
Yeah.
Um, and
Or
I think
if we were going nuts like I did when my query and got 2,000 just for environment, uh, then we might run into problems.
yeah, and I think that I'm not sure we're gonna run into that problem because the the actual query is very simple. The query
Yeah.
isn't more than this,
Yeah.
um, but it's something we need to test. And
Yeah.
in case this works, I think it's a really good solution. In case it do not work, we need to think again.
From my query, would it be hard to copy in the results list and put it in there?
Um, you are asking a very good question.
So
Here
from
we
that
go.
one,
I'm
if
just
you
gonna,
run that one, also very quick, 578.
yeah, let's do it like this.
Uh-huh.
This is all of them, like 500,
Yeah.
almost 600.
Let's see if we run into timeout immediately
Yeah.
or if
Let's
it
see if
actually works somehow.
this just copy paste the nice part, or if we copy paste a little bit more.
Yeah. Well, let's have fingers crossed here.
Ah,
Oh,
only the nice
seems to work.
parts. Okay, let's go then.
So now we timed 100 from 6 to almost 600.
Yeah. We got a minute here. Do you have anything else to say? No.
Oh,
That
14
was
seconds.
14
And we got one
seconds.
more result.
This is a really good test. And for this, for Go Director, I'm not sure we actually need things like the label service for this particular step either. So
No. So which
uh,
was the new one we got?
the Swedish Environmental Protection Agency, yeah, the
That
Swedish
one.
Climate
Woo!
Policy Council. And let's see what that had for a field of work. Politics of climate change.
Very
So that is
nice.
probably, if we're gonna trace it back, I imagine it has like a facet of global warming.
Yeah.
That's it. Ah, okay. I think we have a very positive result here. A
Yes.
completely unreadable query.
And
Um,
unshareable as well. It's very long.
but it works, and the machine could just generate this part.
Hmm.
Uh,
So
oh,
that
I'm
really
really
makes it a case for that the original list that we have in the issue make more of these examples for the 10 different ones that gives
yeah,
us new top level selections.
yeah. And
Uh,
I imagine still it might be case. Let's see. Let's fix this query again, so to say. I'm not sure yet if it's the case of actually doing that like we just did, we put all of the results here, or if it's a matter of having a query like this, which you then go through somewhat manually.
mhm, mhm, mhm.
Um, a lot of theirs also start with a capital letter.
But
Oh,
that could be a company, right?
I imagine it's a commons category.
Climate change and clean growth, Ricardo Energy. What did we
That
find?
was a weird case. Um, but there are a lot of this which I imagine
Yes.
are unlikely.
Yeah, yeah.
But yeah, I'm really happy. I'm gonna, as soon as we're finished here, I'm gonna need to make a note about this, or otherwise I'm
Hmm.
gonna forget it.
Yes.
Um, but this is really good. I not only has I been, I I feel kind of productive. It's not every day.
Yeah. Very
Okay,
good.
that's it for me.
All right.
Hopefully a little bit of insights in how some of the tooling around things can sometimes work.
Super. And as we said, we're not going to go every week. We know next week we're not going, and then we'll see how it's going to end up a little bit further on. And it might be short notices sometimes. We'll see.
Yeah. But we
But
we are usually gonna use Saturdays at 8 or time, this regular time, so to say. And yeah,
yeah, so keep an eye out.
yeah.
Yeah. And until then, happy
Happy
editing.
editing.
Everything is